Hey everybody, Brian Fonvier here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. You guys and gals out there seem to like a lot of laughter because we've got part 3 of what is the silliest D&D character you've ever made. Dugon the Distractible. Half-Elven Deep One's Warlock Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer Multiclass. It makes sense in context. I wanted to buck the trend of uber-powerful characters with high perception that can spot anything, and are always alert to dangers. Dugon, in contrast, was a really lazy, mellow slacker, with a -1 in perception and initiative, and the ability to not notice something as a free action thanks to my DM. Dugon was raised by a cult of dragon worshippers, but he can't remember which color they honored or even whether they were part of Team Bahamut or Team Tiamat. It was all the same to him. The night before his initiation, he was supposed to be studying the Draconic tongue, memorizing the words of the oath, but as usual, he was slacking off. He fell asleep at the books because languages are hard, and he just wanted to chill out and maybe try some druidic herbs that his friend had scored. The next day, when he got to the part in the oath where he was supposed to say, "I pledge my loyalty to our draconic overlords," he flubbed the line and instead pledged to our deep overlords. The resulting psychic backlash knocked Dugon out for a day or two. Something was listening when Dugon made his pledge, and when he recovered from the shock of an alien presence from beyond the dark reaches of space and time invading his mind, Dugon noticed something was different. Languages were suddenly very easy to understand. Any written or spoken text he could translate. And best of all, he had this really chill, mellow, far-out voice in his head who whispered cool things that helped him relax and see the world in a new light. And whenever people bothered him, all he had to do was point at them and repeat some of the whisperings, and they would scream in terror and flee. Needless to say, the dragon cult was not pleased to have someone pledged to a hostile power in their midst, but when the high dragon who ruled them was consulted, it denied to let Dugon live because his antics amused it. Deep cultists were rarely so public visible, and it found the thought of toying with one for a while before eating him appealing. The Deep One, after it got over its puzzlement at being invoked, began to use Dugon as a spy to gather information on the current state of the world, and immediately realized that every demon lord in the 9 hells was simultaneously trying to invade the mortal realm and grab parts of it for their domains. Now was not the time to wake up. No, it would simply sleep quietly, hoping not to be noticed, while its slacker servant fed it intel on the surface world. What better way to gather information than by sending its servant to infiltrate the one party of adventurers out of 7 active in the campaign world that was actually having some success against the invaders. After all, even if Dugon didn't notice things or understand their importance, his master did. And that's how Dugon the Distractible, a chaotic good, read chaotic lazy, level 3 sorcerer, level 3 deep 1 warlock, ended up fighting alongside the heroes. Brother Stone. I made but did not play him for a 10th level campaign. My idea was to try to combine all 4 of the wisdom-based classes, cleric, monk, ranger, and druid, into a single character. This naturally led to an odd result. So, firstly, I went with Hill Dwarf for the wisdom bonus and the extra resiliency, since such a crazy character didn't seem likely to survive very long without it. I then went level 3 Way of Mercy Monk, level 3 Life Domain Cleric, level 3 Swarm Keeper Ranger, and level 2 Moon Druid. I never got too deep into his backstory, but basically he was just going to be an ordinary seeming monk who actually just worshipped stones. You see, stones are peaceful. Stones are calm. A stone doesn't complain when you step on it. A stone only hurts someone when someone else forces it to. A stone never summoned a devil or tried to take over the world. His ranger swarm was just a bunch of bees he kept for honey living in his beard. Oh, that's cute. So, yeah, he was going to be a pacifist beard of bees quadruple multi-class stone-worshipping dwarf monk, who occasionally, and with absolutely no memory of the event, turns into a bear or crocodile and rips a bunch of people to shreds. He was a barbarian. He was big, strong, low intelligence, and he was known for charging headfirst into battle at the flip of a coin. You know, your classic barbarian. Oh, his name? You want to know his name? Well, his name was Monumen Tull. And if you say his name out loud, like I just did, you will understand how much fun he was to play, because, invariably, at some point during the game, Brew would feel the need to discuss a member of his family. For example, his cousin was a very important member of her village. Her name was Vi Tull. His brother, the bard, with a penchant for extremely loud music, Met Tull. His other brother, Ment, was gifted with the ability to read minds. His mother, Mara, was the town officiant, who handled all the marriages. This one may take a few. His father was a proctologist. Oh, God, no! His name was Rek Tull. And you can't forget the baby, Fee Tull. Jesus Christ. It went on and on. I never took too much time, but pretty much every session I'd bring up some new family member. Den, the cousin that works on teeth, or Post, the guy who delivers packages. There were other goofy things about him, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. Yes! And the insistence on using a warhammer with obligatory hammer puns, such as, "It's hammer time!" But really, the fun was in the relatives. The day I introduced his uncle, Digi, who was a mathematician, that was a good day. Ha! This one is easy. Meet Grog, Mountain Dwarf Warrior. 19 Strength, 18 Endurance, 17 Dexterity, 18 Charisma. Now, while you may think this is godlike, and it was, this is what made him so much fun to play. 3 Wisdom, 3 Intelligence. So yes, he was definitely the dullest knife in the drawer, literally in every sense you can think of. But when he figured out that his friends were getting hurt, a massive rage beast in combat. Everyone who ever met him loved him, until the hammer came out. Not a warhammer, no. He found an old blacksmithing sledge and thought it was a warhammer. He became so proficient with it that the GM rolled up new stats for it, eventually becoming one of the most feared weapons in Legend. That is, when he actually pulled it out. Being that he was so slow on the uptake, the GM forced him to make an intelligence roll before he realized that combat was actually taking place. Since it usually took 4 to 5 rounds on average to make a roll, combat was usually well established before he would make his first attack. Once the hammer came out, though, you might as well say the battle was over. No one survived more than 2 hits, and commonly the first hit knocked out most species. Anyway, while deciding what to do, he would just hang out with his pack mule, drinking from the ever-present keg of dwarven ale. Okay, background out of the way. Now on to the main event. The party had raised an army to combat the armies of the main bad guy, and were due to meet said army in a canyon outside of the capital city. Well, Grog got lost on the way there. Grog normally got lost about half the time going anywhere, but this time he was in the right place, only 100 feet above everyone else on top of the canyon wall. Well, combat starts, so Grog starts rolling. 1 full turn later, he finally makes an intelligence roll only to figure out there is no one to swing his hammer at. A few rounds later, rolling for his wisdom this time, he finally figures out what he can do to help his friends. Remembering a past incident involving his dwarven ale and fire, he decides to use the ale as an incendiary bomb and drop it on the opposing army. He lights it, and when he goes to throw it, he failed his strength roll. As in, critical failure. So he trips as he goes to throw it, and instead of launching the keg, he gives it a gentle roll down the side of the canyon. The resulting explosion caused a massive rock slide that the GM couldn't even roll damage for both armies. He simply stated that everyone in the canyon died and the campaign was over. I was horrified, but the other players were so busy laughing at me that they didn't even care that all the other characters were dead. We all rolled up new characters. The others forced me to keep the character sheet for Grog, and even had to bring it out of retirement a few times over the course of the next campaign. Good times. I haven't thought about Jared in years. I haven't played D&D since I left the army back when large animals roamed the earth, but I loved remembering Jared. He was pretty unique. Good old Jared the Useless. Technically he was a thief, with a dexterity of 3. I'd originally wanted a cleric, but with wisdom of 4, well, fighting, strength of 3, constitution, 4. His highest roll was luck, 5. We probably should have just re-rolled the character, but thought, hey, this could be fun. We figured I could double play him and my strength 18, charisma 18 fighter Eva Lightborn. Basically, she was a blonde red Sonya, until he got whacked in some entertainingly gruesome way. Anyway, as for Jared, he was basically Ricewind from Discworld. Luck is my middle name. Mind you, my first name was Bad. In fact, he could probably have been the prototype for Ricewind, since as hopeless as he was, the bloody guy just kept making his rolls. It was absolutely uncanny, next to impossible to succeed, but every roll came up 5 or lower. It was wild. This was one of our strangest campaigns. We played in the barracks common room every Wednesday in our eternal battle to rid the world of the minions of Morgoth, the horribly adorable Spider Lord. At this point I should explain that Morgoth was in fact a great big jumping spider, somewhat limited in aggression, but highly resentful that the damn tarantulas got all the good rolls, and as such had no place in his evil spider horde. Therefore, in addition to the regular Monster Manual minions, the DM would occasionally shout, "Spider ambush!" and the party would suddenly be attacked by 6d20 totally harmless but irritating golf ball-sized jumping spiders. Freaking hilarious, and we'd come up with all sorts of ways for swatting them. But of course, the evil spider horde acted as cover for the real enemy, which generally showed up during the last few splats. Anywho, back to Jared. Hopeless in battle, but an astounding talent for somehow making the rolls. And man, did we try to kill him. We had 2 fighters, the aforementioned Ava, 2 swords, thigh boots, and loincloth, and Rudolphus, a mighty knight of Nazgarth, and his great warhorse Breechblock. We were soldiers, and for the horse names, Trigger was already taken. We had a system, by which I mean I had a system since I played both Jared and Eva. It had the dual advantages of protecting Jared and driving my Quebecois LMG totally out of his damned mind with frustration. The moment monsters showed up, or the evil spider horde attacked, Ava would grab Jared by the scruff of his neck and throw him up onto Breechblock's rump out of the way. He'd spend the battle hanging on to Rudolphus, spoiling his aim and coming up with Goofy's ideas to help out. For example, attacked by a ton of kobolds just after swatting about 60 evil spider minions. Up on Breechblock's arse, Jared figured he could help out by taking Rudolphus's arrows out of his saddle quiver one by one, holding them between his thumb and forefinger and dropping them onto the little critters. It worked once or twice, and seemed to be going great until the DM gleefully informed Rudy, played by our gunner Gene guy, that he was out of arrows. The pissed off gunner backhanded the little squirt, sending him flying into a mass of kobolds, and Jared made the roll, squashing 2 of them to death on landing. Another battle attacked by bandits in a ruined courtyard. It was originally supposed to be an ambush and would have been a lot tougher if their position hadn't been given away by 45 blood-maddened but insufferably cute jumping spiders. Jared landed on Breechblock's arse and between smacking spiders found that if he poked the horse in the butt with his dagger, it'd kick. You can see where that one went. Rudolphus and Gene Guy, who by this time was quite ready to kill me, had to make an initiative roll on every strike, since the damn horse kicked right when he was swinging, but a human bandit is battling with Eva behind Breechblock. Poke, kick. The DM quickly worked up a table. 2d6 would determine where on the wall the bandit would splat. 12 would bullseye him right through the window over the cliff. To this day, the best memory I have of D&D is Jean Guy's long strings of French curses interspread with "The little fucker dies!" Cheers! Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell to get notified whenever we post a new video or when we go live. Also, if you'd like a little bit more D&D stories, check out our subreddit r/MrRipper, where you can submit a story to us for us to read here, or on our secondary channel, Riptovia, which you can find in the links in the description below. Using a help action, you can always come over and say hi to me, Brian Von VA, on YouTube and Twitch, where I will stream games and do D&D voices on occasion too. All the love, we'll see you next time, bye for now.